Gamers are making their voices heard. If Sweet Baby Inc. are involved in a video game, we're not going to buy it, we're not going to support it, we're even going to let everyone know about it. Let everyone know that Sweet Baby Inc., the consultancy, they're spreading their rot amongst a certain game, and that lets maybe even the normies know that, hey, this game hasn't been made with the best of intentions, and hopefully it leads to more people boycotting that game. The Sweet Baby Inc. detected Steam curator, it's done an amazing job of this. It's at 325,000 plus followers, it's growing, it is getting massive. And it essentially compiles all of these different games that Sweet Baby Inc. had consulted on. I'm sure many of you are subscribed, following it, or you're aware of it by now. And a lot of these games, the developers themselves, they're about as useless, about as snarky as Sweet Baby Inc. themselves. For instance, many of these developers have been nuking their own Steam forums, banning people who mentioned Sweet Baby Inc.'s involvement, which is kind of funny because Sweet Baby were hired, you would think partly for kind of PR reasons to be like, we're diverse, we're pushing equity, inclusion, all of that crap. And so we've hired Sweet Baby. But then after you do that, you want to make sure no one hears about it. And that is really because most of these developers, they like the sound of DEI, ESG when they're getting funding for it, or it makes them feel good, but once it starts affecting their bottom lines, that's when they panic, and that is what is really happening. Now that we're aware of what Sweet Baby are doing, that they're spreading their putrid ideology into these titles, we're not buying them. It means the studios suffer, and maybe they're not going to be able to make any more games. They're going to run out of money. I see it as a good thing. However, not everyone sees this as a positive. There is a special group of people who are panicking about the idea of gamers boycotting these games, letting everyone know that Sweet Baby are horrible to avoid anything that they've touched. And amongst all of the anti-Sweet Baby Inc. forum posts on Steam forums, elsewhere on the internet, there are a lot of pro-Sweet Baby Inc. posts. Again, some very special people, and this is quite enlightening, it's quite interesting. So someone says here, if you won't buy this game, just leave. How obsessed you have to be to cry boycott of a game because the female protagonist is not beautiful enough, according to your unrealistic standards. So this is very typical of these sorts of people. We are understandably upset about Sweet Baby Inc. and how they cram their agenda into every game. They don't care about video games. All they care about is being activists. And then you get people like this who avoid what we're actually arguing about and create their own argument, a straw man, which is to say that we gamers get unbelievably upset unless every character in a video game is unbelievably attractive. That's not what's going on though. The problem is the Sweet Baby Inc.'s developers who share the same mindset, they go into a game's tools, they look at a character who originally might have been quite easy on the eye, and they think, we can't have this, we must wreck this character, we must make the nose bigger, we must destroy their facial structure, we won't rest until this character is ugly, unpleasant, and only then will it go into the game, because we can't have the male gaze, that's what they call it. If a video game player looks at a female character and they look aesthetically pleasing, that is bad apparently, and we just cannot have that. They go on to say, like, we get it, you hate non-white people. That's interesting as well, because I don't think I've ever really seen anyone who doesn't like Sweet Baby Inc., isn't interested in any products they're involved in. I've rarely seen them attack a race or a group of people in any way. They're just sick of forced diversity, where your priorities are no longer focused on making the most fun game possible, the most interesting game. Your sole purpose is pushing politics, your brand of politics, into games. Everything else comes second. That is where most of the criticism has been. It's actually people like yourselves who are the ones who are attacking a race of people, in that you will say, we don't want any white people. Take all the white people out of the game. Look at these starfields, which was rumored to involve Sweet Baby Inc., where you go to literally any planet in the solar system, it seems like white people are extinct. So don't talk to us about hating this, hating that. You're the only one who is genuinely hateful. You won't buy the game. Good. I don't know if I believe that. You say that now, but what happens in a year's time? The game's released and no one has paid for it, because the people who actually have some income to buy a game, they're the people who don't like Sweet Baby Inc. The people like yourselves defending them, you have to ask for mother's permission. You're living in her basement, you'll go upstairs once in a blue moon and you'll say, Mum, can I please buy this game? Can you add some coins to my Steam wallet? She'll say no, get off your ass, get a job or something, and you'll go back downstairs and cry yourself to sleep. So you are not buying games, people like you are not. It's most of us, so we're not going to buy this, therefore the company will make no money, the studio will probably close, I'm not going to lose any sleep because good riddance. They're the ones who hired Sweet Baby Inc. Normal people don't get mad because they can't jerk off to a fictional character and they are a big enough market to profit from. Well, it's funny that you talk about that. You are the one with an anime waifu display photo. I don't care if you want to do that as long as the characters are overage, but it's kind of ironic that you're talking about all these weirdos who jerk off to a fictional character, but this seems to be what you do in your spare time. Very interesting. This next one might be a troll, but it's pretty convincing. So they say, Sweet Baby is good for Flintlock, the Siege of Dawn. SBI can significantly benefit the gaming industry, contrary to what most reactionary gamers believe. Here, let me tell you some of the ways. Representation. Embracing diversity in gaming leads to more inclusive representation of various demographics, fostering a sense of belonging and empathy. My issue with this one, and it does come up all of the time, is they say that they want equal representation. So skin color, gender, or no gender in many cases now. They say they want it to be equal. Well, if that was the case, let's take trans people, for instance. There's a very small percentage of people in the world that are trans. So if we were talking about equal representation, a very small percentage of games would actually have people like that in them. But then these people lose their minds if not every single game that exists isn't full of those sorts of people. And then it's the same for things like skin color, where the main character of a game, if they aren't, say, a black woman of color, for instance, with a shaved head, then again, they say, that's not interesting, how boring, yet another cis white male. So, unless every single game is diverse, as they put it, they do go crazy. So the idea that it's just about equality and people having themselves being represented, I don't believe it. And the evidence is the reaction from a lot of these idiots. His second point, market expansion. Catering to diverse audiences broadens the market reach of gaming companies. Well, you've been doing this for years now. This isn't new. All of this DEI stuff and just cramming agendas into games. It's been going on for years. And the gaming industry is in more trouble than ever before. In 2024, 2023 didn't go very well. So if this is supposedly going to open up the market and get more people into games, which I've heard them argue, they try and say that, oh, because there's not enough representation, there's too many white people, that's why certain demographics aren't playing games. But it's clearly not true, because you've been trying to cram it all in, it hasn't worked. None of these people you're apparently catering to, we mentioned trans people, for instance, they're not buying more games. The market's not growing. If anything, it is shrinking, and it's probably because you're trying to turn games into propaganda. Nice try. Point 3, innovation. Diversity fosters innovation and creativity in game design, storytelling, and gameplay mechanics. It's funny they say that, because I heard that about, say, TV, where there was an article a little while ago where someone tried to claim, we're in the golden age of TV. It wasn't the age of Breaking Bad or when Game of Thrones was actually good. The Sopranos, all of that. No, those TV shows aren't that great. We're in the golden age now. You look at the average Amazon Prime, Netflix show of 2023, 2024. Those are much better, apparently. We are in peak television. I don't think anyone sensible actually believes that. What's really going on is more of your agendas are being popped up into entertainment. And you think that if a gay person or a gay relationship is in a TV show, it automatically makes it amazing. I'm not saying that you can't write that in a competent way, but it's often the case that if you put something like that, an LGBTQ relationship, automatically it's got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes because everyone's too scared to give it a bad review. And no one actually looks at the content and goes, is this actually well written? Or are we just too scared to be critical? And instead we just need to celebrate that this exists at all because, oh my goodness, how special is this? So the idea that because you've hired someone of color or someone of a no gender, as we talked about, somehow improves the gameplay, the game design, I've seen no evidence of that. I play Deus Ex from the year 2000. That's got more innovations than I see in games in 2024. You can't even improve on what came out 24 years ago. So until you can actually do that and show that games are indeed getting better, I don't want to hear it. Even something like Baldur's Gate 3, it's really just continuing what was started over 20 years ago with Baldur's Gate 2. It's not that innovative, really. It's just a really competent RPG with lots and lots of content choice, but that has been done before. It's just that it's been outside of the mainstream because we had a lot of dumbed down games on, say, the Xbox for many years, consoleized kind of games that had to appeal to the lowest common denominator. So that's not happening. There is not much innovation actually happening. Brand reputation. Game companies that demonstrate a commitment to ESG and DEI principles enhance their brand reputation and perception among consumers and investors. Well, some of that's true and also not true, because yes, you appeal to investors, and then they'll give you money to put the ESG stuff into games. But then the average customer hates what you're doing and never buys anything from you again. So it's a nice short-term method maybe in this day and age, but it doesn't work. And I hear these rumors circulating that the ESG funding is drying up. So that's not going to last very long. That hasn't worked. And we've certainly got proof of this because we look at the Sweet Baby Inc. detected curator, hundreds of thousands of members. And if this was supposedly improving your brand reputation, why did the developers of Unknown 9 Awakening, which is on this list, it's a Sweet Baby game, why did they have to nuke their own forums and delete most of, if not all of the posts, because they were getting exposed for working with this ESG DEI related consultancy? It's not improving things. Many of these devs are trying to hide that they're introducing these progressive elements. So it sounds more like the powers that be were trying to push this agenda onto people, probably more so for kids, so that kids get brought up believing that all of this DEI stuff is actually a good thing and isn't going to cause them problems in the future. And then it just hasn't worked. The ESG funding is dying up, as I mentioned. It sounds like it's happening. Maybe it won't. Maybe that's cope. But it's certainly not improving brand reputation. That's ridiculous. And social impact. Gaming has the potential to be a powerful tool for social change and activism. I know, and that is the whole problem. You don't care about video games. Sweet Baby Inc., these developers, they don't care about the medium. They see it as a vehicle to shove propaganda down our throats, to promote their own agenda. They couldn't care less what you think of the game, the design, the levels, the systems, the characters outside of your token LGBT characters. They couldn't care less. Listing this as a positive, you've essentially just taken the mask off here and just mentioned these are the things that we find, the Sweet Baby employees or anyone who agrees with them, these are the points that we like. None of them actually improve the game for you. This Flintlock the Siege of Dawn game, it's going to be a pile of absolute rubbish, but hey, at least we get to do our activism and social change. Isn't that a positive? That's why the curator exists, to get you out. We'll end on this one because this is my absolute favorite and it introduced me to something new. You're going to like this. Sweet Baby Inc. equals a recommendation. Make sure you support this game by buying it when it comes out and give your honest thoughts. And if you don't like it, just refund it. So basically saying, I hear this all the time too, you have to buy it before you can give an opinion. Yeah, you can refund it, and if you go over your 2 hours, too bad, you can't get your Steam refund, but you can't judge it before buying it. That isn't the best part though, because he links something here, and I assumed it was a link just going back to our usual Sweet Baby Inc. detected curator, but it's actually a new Steam curator, and this is just peak cope from these people. It is the Sweet Baby Inc. Blessed. And it doesn't have hundreds of thousands of followers like the original, which is sitting at 325,000 followers right now. It literally has 135 followers. And what is the purpose of this group? Well, it's recommending Sweet Baby Inc. games. So they're trying to say, if Sweet Baby Inc. are involved, we're going to give it the thumbs up. We recommend that you play this group. Unfortunately, it hasn't had quite as much traction. 135 people. They've tried to say that the people who don't like Sweet Baby Inc. are in a quiet minority. Proof is in the pudding here, I think. And these different developers, they went all in on the Sweet Baby gambit. They decided to hire these ridiculous consultants. They said, oh, we're on the right side of history here. We're going to inject this propaganda into our games. We'll get a bit of ESG money. We can promote ourselves as diverse. People are starting to wake up. They're looking at these games. They're not going to buy them. They're making a conscious effort to know what these games are so they can avoid them, tell their friends about it so they do not buy this. These games are confirmed garbage because they're focused on agendas and not fun. I hope every single one of these games flops. Many of them have, like Suicide Squad. These defenders of Sweet Baby Inc., if you want to talk about minorities, 135 followers who support Sweet Baby Inc. compared to hundreds of thousands who don't. I don't mind this sort of inequality because this is a good thing. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.